James Gunn's Superman might not defeat Man of Steel at the box office, but that is far from a doomsday scenario it might seem. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Even before Superman debuted, there had been rumors of the movie needing to gross over $700 million to break even. While director James Gunn debunked the claim, the movie might ultimately fall short of that mark and even end its run below Man of Steel's collection. Superman was arguably one of the most anticipated movies of 2025, and the James Gunn-directed reboot had the burden of relaunching the DCU. While the movie initially soared with positive reviews and strong box office numbers, the dust is finally settling as a clear picture of its commercial performance emerges. When all is said and done, Superman, which sits at a $525.3 million gross, via the numbers, might not surpass Man of Steel's $668 million collection. To most, that might seem like a doom and gloom scenario. However, that is far from the case, as Superman offered plenty of positives and should not be judged simply by its box office numbers. Here is why Superman is losing to Man of Steel at the box office, and that is fine. The same is evident in the movie's international numbers, with the movie only making $223 million from overseas markets, via the numbers. Gunn himself cited the anti-American sentiments as a reason for the movie performing below expectations overseas in an interview with Rolling Stone. However, one of the major factors in the movie's perceived box office underperformance is the titular character's American way. For better or worse, Superman is identified as a quintessentially American hero. As a result, the anti-American sentiments in the real world certainly impact the box office numbers. In contrast, Superman collected $8.8 million in China, via the numbers, making up for only 3.95% of its international box office. Hence, it is safe to say that China's move away from Hollywood blockbusters hurt Superman's box office potential. The anti-American sentiments are perhaps most prevalent in China, which was a big market for Hollywood when Man of Steel was released in 2013. The Zack Snyder-directed movie earned roughly $63.4 million in China, making for a 16.7% share of the movie's international box office collection of $379.1 million, via Box Office Mojo. In comparison to recent Marvel movies such as Captain America, Brave New World, 68%, and Thunderbolts*, 56%, Superman only dropped 54% during its second domestic weekend, significantly less than Man of Steel's 69% drop, via Deadline. Hence, despite superhero fatigue, Superman held its own at the box office. A decade ago, the superhero genre was just entering its boom when Man of Steel debuted. Fast forward to 2025, and even the MCU is having its fair share of trouble at the box office. Only 2 of Marvel's last 6 releases, excluding the Fantastic Four, crossed the $700 million mark globally, via the numbers. Gunn's own The Suicide Squad was greatly affected by the pandemic-stricken box office back in 2021, as it was released simultaneously on streaming and in theaters, via Den of Geek. While that effect has slightly faded, it would still be unfair to discount the streaming factor when evaluating Superman's box office performance. Man of Steel was released when streaming was practically non-existent. In the post-COVID-19 era, streaming releases are announced even before movies arrive in theaters, which is affecting box office figures even if marginally. Despite this, when all is said and done, Superman might not soar above the Henry Cavill-led movie. However, the 2025 reboot did restore faith in the DC brand, securing stellar reviews, leading to an 84% critic score and 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. James Gunn's Superman flew into theaters on July 11, 2025, and had an opening weekend of roughly $125 million at the domestic box office, via the numbers. In the process, it surpassed Man of Steel's $116 million opening weekend figures. The movie's inclusion of crypto led to a 500% surge in interest for dog adoption, via New York Post. It also led to a rise in the sales of Superman comics, reviving interest in a character that was deemed too uncool and old-fashioned, via Daily.News. As a result, Superman offered plenty of positives and made a massive dent in the pop culture zeitgeist. While it may have underperformed in the eyes of many, it will make us re-evaluate the metrics for a movie's commercial success. From Superman, audiences and studios can stand to learn that a movie is more than just its bottom line, and maybe that's the real punk rock. Do you think Superman should be deemed a hit or a flop? Let us know in the comments. Superman is currently in theaters, and Man of Steel is streaming on HBO Max, USA. James Gunn's plan takes the DCU beyond Batman, Superman, and other mainstream heroes, and could give space to lesser-known characters. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Ragman is an underrated hero in DC Comics. As the name suggests, he is usually seen dressed in a suit that resembles rags, with some stories depicting each rag containing a soul. When Rory Reagan failed to save his father and his friends from being electrocuted by a group of gangsters who came looking for the loot they had hidden in the senior Reagan shop, he took on the persona of Ragman to take revenge. James Gunn has recently revealed plans for the DCU after the success of Superman, which includes 4 shows per year, via IGN. Gunn mentioned that he hopes the DCU could release 2 live-action movies and an animated series per year, along with TV shows that will primarily air on HBO Max, allowing many underrated and lesser-known characters to get their own time in the sun. From the Guardians of the Galaxy to Creature Commandos, Gunn has always looked for lesser-known and mid-tier heroes for his adaptations. Superman is the most popular superhero he has tackled to date, which is currently breaking milestones at the box office. However, with this 4 shows-a-year plan, he can get back to adapting obscure heroes. And we have some suggestions for future shows in the DCU. A strong ally of Batman, the Creeper, aka Jack Ryder, is a talk show host in the real world and a journalist who develops powers after he is injected with a serum by Dr. Yates. While he has varying origin stories and abilities, most of his powers include increased physical strength, agility, durability, and a distinct personality from his Ryder persona. A show centered on Ragman could be more of a vigilante story with mystical elements. Ragman is often compared to the golem of the Jewish faith, and his rag suit has many powers. A Moon Knight-esque animated show that is gritty and dark would be a great addition to the DCU. Animal Man does exactly what you think the name suggests. After being subjected to radiation from a crashed spaceship, Buddy Baker develops the power to tap into the abilities of any animal in the world. Some origin stories reveal that he can also tap into the powers of the animal kingdom as a whole, and can hence pull power from extinct animals. A live-action sci-fi drama featuring Animal Man would be a great show for the DCU. James Gunn has the opportunity to bring to life one of the most celebrated comic book runs on Animal Man by Scottish writer Grant Morrison. With a treasure trove of smartly written stories that are bonkers to boot, the DCU Animal Man can raise some mature questions, as Morrison did. A classic James Gunn dark comedy based on the Creeper would be great. Since his association with Batman in the comics is frequent, his show can be used as a way to expand on Gotham City's lore. It can also be an animated series along the Gothic lines of Batman, the animated series, and other DCAU projects. A noir-esque live-action series could definitely give some edge to the DCU, centered around a mystery. It could again expand on DC lore, showing the